John, am the one who heard and saw all these things. Let all on the earth and in heaven sing. Jesus is the source of David and heir to his throne. If you find and follow Jesus, you will never be alone. He is the bright morning star. He is the God who's never far. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Let anyone who hears this say, come. Let anyone who is thirsty come, because the work of the cross is done. Drink freely from the water of life. The way and truth is Jesus Christ. He sent an angel to present this revelation to his servant John. The day of truth is about to dawn. The angels in a group of seven. He comes with the clouds of heaven. Comes with the clouds of heaven. This revelation to his servant John. The day of truth is about to dawn. The angels in a group of seven. He comes with the clouds of heaven. He comes with the clouds of heaven. I, John, am the one who heard and saw all these things. Let all on the earth and in heaven.
All right, everybody, we are here tonight and good to be with you. All right, awesome. Good to be here tonight and really good stuff. All right, so we want to share with you tonight some really cool information I got about one of Brandon Biggs' works that I thought was really awesome. And I think I got some revelation from the Lord about it today that maybe he saw, maybe he didn't see, but it was really cool. And so I was so excited to come on tonight. And you know, because he said he thought he missed that, and I'm starting to wonder if he didn't miss it at all, but he saw something. He saw something that maybe he didn't realize what he was seeing. So I want to talk about that tonight a little bit, and then we'll just kind of go from there and see what goes on. Hopefully you're enjoying the Iranian war. It's kind of rough, isn't it? Kind of tough, kind of crazy. People have all kinds of different opinions about it. It's kind of fun to watch. So if you are watching that on the news, make sure and watch the right. Yeah, so there we go. All right, so we want to share with you some things tonight, and if you haven't been on before, this is the first time you're on, I can tell you that what happens every Wednesday night is that we pray and prophesy over every person, and so you can be welcome to get on. You don't have to have I don't have to have your name. We don't have to have anything. We just need you to show up and put your name up there, or say pray for me. And we'll pray for you. We will be recorded for you, so you can always have that. Get it anytime you want. And all right, if the video ever disappears or whatever, we can get the audio for you. We have the audio always, forever. And sometimes the videos get replaced or whatever, but just let me know about that. And it's really cool. I know that sometimes in my prophetic world, my own life, I've gotten information, and you know, when you first get information from the Lord, especially when it's about something quote important, it's all important, but you're not sure how to handle it. It's fresh and brand new to you. You don't get to think about what it's going to look like a month from now or a year from now. You just kind of get the information. And so a lot of prophets do that. And a lot of people, a lot of prophets, every one of them that I know about have, made mistakes and have fallen short, uh, in those areas. And so nothing really bad wrong with that, but it's a matter of learning, right? We're all learning. So I've had the same thing. I've done that. And so tonight I want to share with you some things. Because when you're learning something brand new, when you go to school and you're in the first grade, if you don't know how to spell and do arithmetic yet, they're not going to tell you that you're stupid, right? They're just going to say they know that you're there to learn, right? And so God does the same thing with us. So we have those things and we make those mistakes, and we say things and do things sometimes that because we don't understand. It's the first time we've ever done it before, right? First time we've ever had this particular thing going on, and it's kind of it's I don't know, it's not scary, but it's like a brand new thing, and you don't know how to work. Like getting a brand new car with all these gadgets in there. If you don't go watch a video about how to work them, it'll probably take you a year to figure out most of them, right? So I think that's the same thing with the prophetic realm for sure, because we don't always know everything of what we see. You see things, John the Revelator saw things that that we call helicopters now, but they didn't have helicopters back in the day of John the Revelator, and so he explained it the best he could. So if why didn't he supernaturally know there was a helicopter? Why didn't God say that's a helicopter? And so because because he didn't. I don't know why God didn't say that's a helicopter, or that's some kind of a war plane or something, or warship or whatever. We don't know why God didn't just tell him and make it really plain so that people in the future could know that he's talking there about, modern day helicopters and airplanes that look like grasshoppers, right? And whatever. You don't always know what you see. You just see things, and sometimes you will know exactly what it is, and sometimes you do not. And I think every prophet I've ever known about personally, or read about them and you hear about them, they all have done the same thing overall. Some learn faster than others. Some were maybe smarter than others. I don't know what the deal was. I've been kind of slow at learning. I've learned over the years about things. I've made mistakes. I've talked about them publicly because I want people to know that just because you are literally a prophet or a pastor or a teacher or whatever you are, a mother or a father, you're gonna learn. Your mama tried to teach you, your daddy tried to teach you, you read books about it. But when you actually step into it for yourself, it's a whole different ballgame. You don't really know exactly how this is going to work out for you. Just like Abraham, we talked about Abraham the other night, how that when God told him, his father and mother were idolaters, right? So they didn't really know the Lord God. And then the Lord God started speaking to Abraham and said, "I want you to leave your mother and father, leave you know your family, and take your family with you." And so what does he do? Right away he adds Lot, and then he takes things, he starts adding things and taking away things and whatever. And he gets on his way, and God tells him that I'm going to bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. So so that's the first time you ever heard that, right? You have to understand. We look in the Bible and we go like, I know what that means because we see. But when he got it, he didn't have a clue what it meant. He's going like, wow, man. I mean, I don't know if God explained it to him more than that. We hear what the Lord said about it, right? When he told him, he said, I'm going to bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. What does that literally mean in your everyday life? what does it mean when you're going to Egypt and you know there that the kings and the pharaohs always looking for good looking women, and your wife happens to be the most beautiful woman in the world, basically Sarah. And so you start planning out this little plan and not really applying that if somebody tries to mess with you, that God's going to take care of them for you, in whatever way He does it. So he doesn't know how. He doesn't really know what that means in his everyday life. He was like what in his 70s when he started out. Just think about living 70 years doing everything a certain way and not having any knowledge of God, and all of a sudden you got God Almighty speaking to you about stuff. Right? It's really, really kind of like surprising. You kind of like going like, wow. I mean, I really don't know how this works. Well, this is what prophets go through. Prophets go through this. We need to understand. Now, if you keep doing, if Abraham would have just kept on and he kept on for a long time making mistakes, right? We talked about that the other night. But eventually, if you don't learn and you try to maybe lie about or you know exaggerate about what you did or didn't do and did or didn't say, and then you end up covering up your mistakes and failures and all that. I think that it can really create you some problems. But if you realize that men of God and women of God all through the Bible have not understood when they came into contact with God and God would speak to them, they didn't have a clue how that applied to them literally, physically. Abraham didn't have a clue. He's going like, okay, Sarah, get ready because they're going to want you and they're going to kill me. So instead of him trusting God that God would curse anybody who tried to touch him, no, he doesn't know how. It's not that he's an unbeliever or a doubter. He just doesn't understand. So when you don't understand things, you make wrong decisions. I've done it. We've all done it. Everybody's done it. We need to give people a break, right? And give people a chance to learn. And so when you're learning and growing, you just don't really know exactly how long it's going to take to learn how to apply the promises of God to your life. Like when God says, I'm going to bless you financially, I'm going to bless you and take care of you, and then the first thing you do is you go out and try to get a loan and you do everything to get a loan and you get that money because you think He's saying to you, I'm going to help you get a loan. Or other people interpret it to, going out and asking for money. And I mean, I'm not saying any of those things are wrong. I'm just saying, is that what He meant when He told you, I'm going to provide everything for you? When God told me when I first started doing PGN and getting ready to do a new website, and I was putting on my store on there, like everybody I knew did, every teacher, prophet, apostle, they all had stores on their show, on their for their ministries. They all had them on their websites and stuff. It was just a common basic thing. But here I am getting mine together, and people I was working with at the time, Mike and Cindy Jacobs, they had their own website and with a store in there. So I'm following up, and they were helping me get it going on, and I was getting it together. And the Lord said, "What you doing there?" And I go like, in my mind, I go, what I'm doing? We got to make some money here. And the Lord said, if you will not do that, if you won't sell me, Randy, I will bless you above them all. I will bless you above them all. And I'm going like all kinds of things are running through my head. What does that mean? I do not know what that means. I'm thinking, is that money? Is that what is it? I mean, that's the first thing I thought of. I'd be honest with you, that's what I thought of. Okay, money. In other words, because we were talking about money, so I thought he was saying, I'll give you more money than all of them. But I didn't know what it meant, right? And that's not really necessarily what it meant, but although, anyway, but so it meant a lot of things, and I'm just now kind of figuring out. And that was in 2009, something like that, when God told me not to merchandise him. If I wouldn't sell him or merchandise him, he would raise me up and bless me above them all. And I'm going like, okay, well, so I mean, I didn't do it for that reason, but when he showed it to me and I saw and felt his heart, I started, just seeing that why it was wrong, at least for me. And so I talked to, Mike and Cindy Jacobs, who have ministry for years and years and years. Really, at the time, they were pretty well known. And so, so I'm asking them questions, I'm not trying to bother them too much, but why do we sell? I mean, because I didn't know, I wasn't being critical of them. And so she told me, because we sell our books, we get our money up front because you can't trust the people to pay you. They'll read the book and then they'll forget about it, and then you got all that money going out because you paid for putting the book together, and you paid all this stuff, and you worked really hard on it, and it made sense to me. I went, I walked away going like, and so God was helping me process, just like He told Abraham, "I'm going to bless those and bless," because he tried. Abraham had to process it through his life, which he failed many times and not didn't do it right. So am I. I'm learning how to apply this thing to my life. So I'm asking questions, right? I'm asking somebody who's experienced and very good people. It seemed like to me what I saw were very great people, and I'm going like, okay. So I'm asking questions, and the answer I got, it made sense logically that if you were a businessman in the business world, that was, of course, a perfect answer, right? And so I walked away going like, okay. So long story short, I started seeing that when God said, "Don't sell me," He meant don't merchandise me at all in any fashion or form, as far as my word goes. And so I'm going like, okay. So in other words, I'm going to provide for you without all that. So I don't want to be sold. I don't want you selling my word. I don't want you selling revelation. I don't want, because I was doing my store on my website when He said that to me, right? So I learned little by little by asking questions, and pretty soon I couldn't find anybody that gave me the answer that I finally came up with. Not one person. And I didn't ask that many, but the ones I asked, knew, they knew what they're talking about. I'm going like, okay. And so, so this is what happens to prophets. The same thing happens to prophets. When God starts speaking to you and giving you dreams and visions, you don't always understand it all. And so you can think, that's just a bunch of hogwash. I just had too much pizza, or you can, start trying to figure it out. And so you try to figure it out. God's not sitting there going like, when you mess it up a little bit, He's not going like, "Hey man, you're really stupid. What's wrong with you? I'm going to get rid of you because yeah." No, He's like going just like Abraham. I mean, Abraham messed up a lot, as we talked about the other night. And so so God gives us a lot of room, friend. It's when we know better, and not just even when we know better, make a couple of know better sins. He doesn't really throw us out even then. But if we persist and continuously rebel against what we know He told us to do, then eventually, things happen. He just withdraws from you in that area, and because He's giving you plenty of time. It's not about losing your salvation; it's about losing, special gifting that God's gifting you with for to make your life, better, and make His ministry and the things He's telling you help you understand it better, how to get it out there, and how to make it better, and how to do it right. And so you're gonna mess up stuff. I mean, I've messed up. I've talked about my mess ups. How many times? I don't know, but a bunch of times. So the reason I like to talk about this stuff is because when He told me, I will raise you up, I will bless you above them all. I just thought I didn't even know, you know, like what particular area. That's my mind right away starts going like, okay, well, because I just knew that I wasn't the kind of person who's going to be really smart and do great things, and I'm going to be the guy who just rises above all of them somehow or another, which didn't make any sense to me because I've never seen myself like that at all, ever, not even once. So it just was like totally brand new, and it was clear as a bell when I heard it in my heart. It wasn't audible; it was in my heart, clear as a bell. So I'm going like, wow, and honestly, even after years and years, I just kind of like tried to quit trying to figure it out because I think, if I think it's about money, then, I mean, that's what I was doing, getting ready to get money to the website and all that, selling stuff. And when he talked to me, so I just kind of, I understand that was my first automatic thought. And then I started thinking, okay, maybe I'm going to be the greatest prophet that ever, if I do what God tells me. And I thought, nah, man, Kim Clement was around then, and I was like, oh, none of it made any sense to me. So honestly, to tell you the truth, I never really understood what it was until little by little things began to unfold, little by little, and it took years, just like with Abraham. It took years for him to understand what God meant was, hey, if you will just do what I say and heed my word, it doesn't matter how many enemies come against you. I'm going to literally, physically, I'm going to protect you. I will not let them harm you. I will not let them literally, physically take your wife and have babies with them and kill you. I won't let anything happen to you. And so Abraham, it took him years and a lot of time to work that into his system. And friend, give yourself a break. The same thing is for you. Quit being so hard on yourself, being hard on yourself in the wrong way, because when you're hard on yourself in the wrong way, which I call condemnation, then you're going to find yourself not really growing as fast as you need to grow. So give yourself a break. Learn and grow. Always continue to learn. Repent when you mess up. Let people know if it's about people that, hey, I think I messed that up a little bit, and on and on and on. So this whole thing is, I really think God's trying to show. And I sent out a text out about Brandon Biggs, and I've talked about Brandon a little bit because people have sent me his information. I don't really watch Brandon. I don't really watch much of anybody except maybe once in a while I run across them and think, man, they're really cool. And I try to watch to see what they're saying. And if they're merchandisers, then I really have a hard time with them. Even though I still listen to them because they can have some really good information. But I kind of find myself steering away from people that the things that God told me not to do, and they're doing it. I'm going like, hey, yeah, yeah, but not completely. So with Brandon, of course, I was told that Brandon, and I did a little research. Brandon Biggs does not merchandise. That's what I understand, and that was rare. So I think he's kind of new in this thing, kind of like me. And so I think the new guys who hear from God are probably not going to merchandise. Now, as far as I know, he doesn't merchandise. If he does, I don't know it. I did look it up when somebody told me he didn't. I tried to look it up and see if he did, and I couldn't see where he did. Right? I thought, well, and I even texted him back. I said, "Wow, I think you're right. That's really awesome. I did not even know. I've never even checked." And he's a pre-tribulation guy, pre-tribulation rapture guy. You know what I feel about that. But I still thought, well, you know, his dream about Trump, or vision or whatever he had about Trump, was so awesome, uh, because it came to pass. With what he saw. And so I mean, I looked at the prophecy tonight. I went to YouTube, and if you want, you can look it up yourself. You can see the prophecy that came to pass, comma, Trump's ear. Uh, I think it's called Last Days, is the name of his site. If you'd like to look that up, this is a year ago. So I looked up where he's talking about it a year ago when it was still just fresh to him, and so the exact wording was, he talks about how God showed him that Trump's ear got shot. I think he said his right ear, I believe, which was the right one. And he said the bullet flew by his ear and came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum. Well, we found out. I don't know if Brandon ever checked this out or not, but I heard Brandon say, uh, and other people have said that he said that he just thought that his eardrum, because the bullet went so close that it burst his eardrum. But as far as we know, it didn't burst his eardrum. But he did get shot in the right ear, and he says he said Trump got saved, and he talks about all this. It was really cool. You got to read it, get into it for yourself. It's really awesome. You can go one more time. Prophecy that came to pass, comma, Trump's ear, and then I think the name of his ministry is Last Days. As far as I know, he doesn't merchandise. That's what I've seen. So I think it's really great. So here's what I want to say about that tonight. I want to explain what I think he saw when he said that his eardrum, because it literally said, I'm reading it right in front of me right now. This is literally him saying this. It flew by his ear, and it came to pass, and it came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum. And so if it busted his eardrum, as far as we know, that didn't happen. But of course, the earshot did, right? That's amazing, man. That's amazing. And one of the things that does for me is that some of the people who say it's conspiracy theories that they heard, about Trump, having himself shot. So I mean, I had friends of mine, Jeff from here at the show. He thinks it was a setup. And I said, well, you could be right, dude. Anything could happen, right? I mean, I really didn't want to argue with it back. I just said, I just don't think it. I don't think it was a fake. I don't think it was fake. I think it was real. And so, you could be right, and I might be right. I hope I'm right. So when Brandon Biggs had the dream before this all happened, that he literally did get shot in the ear, and it was an assassination attempt, I thought, well, that kind of debunked the whole thing, right? That's what I thought. I thought, in my own personal opinion, is that debunked what Jeff was saying, and whoever else was saying that. So to me, that made the reason that Biggs in Revelation was so important was because it showed that it wasn't some setup by Trump trying to get reelected. He went down on his knees, and like Brandon saw this. He saw him get saved, man. I mean, when I listen to it, right, I get goosebumps watching it. It's so amazing. So, but he said his eardrum uh, burst. So, and as far as we know, and I even think he has said that that was just something he assumed, right? But I don't think he assumed it. When you watch the video, if you get a chance to do that, you'll see that he's just telling you what he saw. And so I think that what he saw was symbolic, not necessarily physical. As far as we know, his eardrum never, Trump's eardrum is normal, I guess. The ears, the gun, the bullet went through his ear and he bled, and he did fall on his knees just like he saw, which was beautiful. But the amazing thing is that, you know, what is it? What did it mean? What, if he saw his eardrum burst and it didn't? So did he just miss it, or is it possible that it was symbolic of what God was doing with Trump? God did something with Trump that night, y'all, through that bullet thing. I mean, he did something to him, and what I think I think Biggs got it right on. I don't think he missed it at all. It didn't happen in the physical realm, but I think in the spirit realm, God was trying to show Biggs something. It's just what I think. He may not agree with it, but I think that he saw something happen in the spirit realm where Trump's ear, where he couldn't hear out of that ear anymore, his right ear. So to me, what Trump thinks was right at that time, his right ear, got deafened. He got deafened to the things he thought was right, and the things he thought was right were not right, because now that he's born again, he's not perfect, of course, but he's I can tell by looking at him, he was a completely different person. So I think that Biggs' explanation was totally God. I do. I think the whole thing, even though Trump's eardrum, obviously, as far as we know, was not burst, so that looked wrong. But to me, I just got this today, y'all, so I'm kind of excited for Biggs, because I love to see prophets get it right, man. Because I've done the same thing. I've half baked things and added things to God's word. God's word came to pass, but I've added things. I've done all that, right? So I think everybody knows I'm not condemning anybody or even criticizing. But the truth is the truth, and that's what he said, and that's what I thought. And so I just followed up on what Biggs said, and then I got to thinking about it, and I said, Lord, what really happened with that? It's just so beautiful and so amazing, and I feel like that God was showing me that what Biggs saw was just like what happened with Saul when Saul got knocked off his horse and blinded. Well, Trump didn't get blinded, but he got deafened. Paul got blinded to the way he was going. Trump got deafened in his right ear. What he thinks is right, what he thought was right. Maybe a lot of things he thought was right were not right as far as his attitude. Maybe things he wasn't doing that was of God, and he got deafened to that, where he can't hear that anymore. Just like Paul the apostle, like Saul, got knocked off his horse and blinded. Blinded to what? Blinded to, doing what he was on his way to do at Damascus, to killing Christians. I mean, Saul was a very good man. Saul was not a hypocrite. He was not a deceiver. He was not a liar. He was a truthful, honest to God man. But he just didn't believe that Jesus was the Christ. So when he got blinded, it's the same thing I believe that happened to Trump. That Biggs saw. I think Biggs saw what happened to Trump, except it was spiritual, maybe not physical. Obviously not physical, according to, I guess he probably found out if it was, because that would be big part of the dream or the vision, whatever he had, that his eardrum burst. Because he says, you go watch the video, he says it just plain as day. It's like about 43 seconds into that video, if you watch the same one that I watched, and he's talking about it just like he saw it happen. And you know what? I think he's right. I said he was wrong because he said he was wrong. I said he got it halfway right, halfway wrong. Well, it was, but now I think that he really saw something, that God did what he did to Saul. He knocked him off his horse. Trump got knocked to the ground, or he went down to the ground, right? Biggs saw not only the bloody ear, but I think he saw the bloody ear, right? But I'm pretty sure he saw the bloody ear. I didn't watch all of it. I just watched that part where he says that about the eardrum. And so to me, he got it right in that, except it was symbolic, just like even though Saul was really truly blinded where he couldn't see. But I think his blindness was spiritual blindness that blinded him physically, right? Blinded him to what? To the way he was going. So what was happening to Trump? He was knocked to the ground, just like Saul. He was blinded. Saul was blinded. Trump was deafened in that ear, the ear that his spiritual ear, which needed to be saved so he could hear the righteousness of God in his right ear and hear the right thing, the right way God wanted him to go. I think that's really what happened. That so I shared it with some people earlier, and they thought I was being critical of him. I'm not being critical of him at all. I'm trying to say I think he got it all right, even though he says he didn't. I don't know if he didn't think about that. I probably won't contact him. Maybe some of you guys can contact him and say some guy over here thinks that you were right about the whole thing and that you didn't make a mistake. That you could just some of you guys keep up with him. Just let him know that. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but you can do it. Just say you have to give my name. Just say some guy who prophesies says he thinks that your dream, your vision was totally fully God. You didn't miss the eardrum part. It was symbolic in nature. So anyway, that's what I think, and that's what I'm sticking with unless God changes my mind. But I thought that was really awesome, y'all, because if you only knew what it's like to know when you hear something from God and maybe you misunderstand or misinterpret part of it, it's painful to think that you messed it up. I can imagine if he's like me, the pain he went through in thinking that he might have misguided people or might have messed up the word of the Lord. I'm very familiar with that. I know a lot about that actually, and so I just felt so compassion for him that I wanted to come on the show tonight because I just got it today or last night or yesterday sometime. Anyway, in the last 24 hours, and so I thought it was really really cool, really really interesting, really really awesome that I think God showed me that, and because when you watch the video, he's so passionate when he's talking about it, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. And I think that he was right. I think he did get spiritually deafened from what he thought was right, and God started taking him a different right way, right? And so I don't know. I'm excited. I was really excited about that. I don't want prophets to be wrong. I don't want myself to ever be to misinterpret a word from God or whatever. I don't want that for anybody because I know the pain that you go through with that. And if he receives that, if he gets it to him, somebody gets it to him, uh, maybe he'll see it as right. I don't know. Maybe we'll hear him say, somebody share with me that they think that's what it is. And I said, you know what? Maybe he'll say, I think that's right, and that it will set him, because the pain you go through. You may not act like it's painful, but trust me, it's painful when you feel like you possibly misunderstood things and said it publicly, where people thought, well, his ear's not deaf. It didn't burst his eardrum, so you were wrong. That's what I thought because he said he was wrong. So I was just agreeing with him, not condemning him, because I've done the same thing, right? I've said the same thing, done the same thing. So anybody who says I'm trying to condemn Brandon Biggs, come on, y'all. I'm very blunt about the truth. And if he said that was true, then I was just quoting what he said, not what I said. And so that's it. And so now I see something completely different, and it just thrills me to know that hopefully he will, if he thinks that that's right, if he gets that as a thing that's from God, if he does, I hope it sets him free from that pain because I know about that pain. You don't want that pain. It doesn't go away. I mean, it's not like a condemning thing. It's kind of like a lesson you learn that comes with pain and suffering. You ever had children and maybe you are an animal or creature or a loved one that you said the wrong thing, did the wrong thing, and you regretted it, the rest of your life? It doesn't mean that you can condemn yourself about that, or you can get forgiven, but you sometimes still feel the pain of the loss of that relationship, and so you never really, so it becomes a learning thing, not a condemning thing. It can be a condemning thing, but once you get past the condemnation, that thing that you messed up on, that you failed on, you learn from it. It becomes a learning thing, and I've had a lot of those. And I think that if we don't start learning from our pain, and sometimes those pain will stick with you to a certain degree, so that you won't forget about it because God knows us. He knows we're very human and we forget about things. So that little bit of pain there, and every time you give a word, you try to make sure that you don't add to or take away from it because you know the pain you went through when maybe you understood and misquoted and made God look like he was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that is not a thing anybody wants, especially a servant of God, a prophet. So, Biggs, I hope you're hearing this. I love you, man. I think you did a great job. I know what it feels like, and I just wanted to know if you think this is right, that I want to set you free, help set you free, agree for your freedom about that I don't think you missed it. I don't think you missed any of it. I think you got it right on. And God bless you. And that God just continue to raise you up and use you in whatever way He can. I don't know if you guys have watched much Prophet. I used to watch Kim Clement. And a lot of things Kim Clement said. I mean, I don't know. I'm going through some of my stuff the other day, and Andrea uh, from Blair, hi Andrea, from Blair sent me some denier from Iraq and there that he said many years ago. I had a lot of friends who invest in it way back, and I don't know what year it was, 2008, 2009, whatever it was. Bought a lot of denier because he told people, Kim told a lot of people that they're gonna make a lot of money off of it, so buy the denier, and they did. And so I had Andrea was very gracious and sent me some of those. And thank you, Andrew, for that. But it hasn't happened. As far as I know, it hasn't happened. I think Andrew probably would have contacted me. But so you trying to say Kim Command is false prophet? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know what he saw because I didn't hear the details about any of it. I just had friends, pastor friends. I would go preach in a church somewhere, traveling, and they would tell me, "Oh, did you buy the dinar?" I'm going like, "The dinar? What's that?" You don't know about the dinar? He said, "Kim Commit said." And so, Kim Commit, he's an amazing man of God. He and I had a little riff about Mike Huckabee. He did not like Mike Huckabee at all. He really didn't. And I mean, he said so publicly. It wasn't just, he said so. I watched it myself, and I was very, very in on the Mike Huckabee thing, and he did not like Mike Huckabee. So we're family, y'all. I mean, sometimes we're gonna have disagreements on stuff, and stuff is gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. So how do we deal with all of it without maybe somebody's a false prophet because they said an eardrum was pop and got half of it right, half of it wrong? So is he half a false prophet or what? Well, I don't know. I think God wants to show us how to biblically deal with it, which I don't know that I know that how to do that yet. But I think that God wants to show us because I talked last night about Elisha, how that I think that prophets like uh, Biggs will be used. That kings and prime ministers will, if they know who he is, they know that the sort of things maybe he's got some things that were uh, that touch them, and they will be getting a hold of you, and they'll say, "Hey, Biggs, Mister Biggs, Father," like they called Elisha Father. They said, "Father," because Elisha had defeated the Syrian army by blinding all of them, thousands of them. He blinded them all by the Spirit of God, and took them into the middle of the army of the Israelis, and they had a lot of their family members killed by those guys. And the prime minister or the king of Israel asked Elisha. This is the king of Israel asking somebody. Ask Elisha the prophets and said, "Oh Father, what can we do with these?" Well, I think that's what they'll do with Brandon and others. That we're going to be hailed as people who have a reputation for hearing from God, uh, whatever the thing is, where they will be looking. Because let me tell you something: the king of Israel, so highly honored, uh, so to be so highly honored Elisha, that he that even when Elisha would tell him, "Oh king, do not go down that path you usually go down, or don't do that particular thing you usually do because they're waiting for you down there," the king would have him checked out. So he would send some servants up there to spy out and see. And sure enough, the spies came back and they said, "Man, yeah, they're waiting for you right there, exactly like Elisha said." So when you get a few of those right on, right, pretty soon global leaders, will start contacting you and say, "Hey, Father or servant of God." I'm a little older. I'm 72, so they may call me Father. I think Elisha was getting a little bit older. But with Biggs, they may say, "Hey, man of God, what do you think we should do about this? Since you've had some experience getting some word from God about these kind of things, What do you think we should do? I think that's going to happen. I think it's already happened to me, and I'm sure it's probably already happened to him. I really don't know because I don't know him. I don't know if he said that stuff or not. Uh, but I've had people who were you know I didn't even know who they were, and they were with huge companies and banks. Who I'm talking about, not you know like global stuff, calling me up and telling me telling me how they listened to the prophets and the prophets they listened to lately about the market and didn't do it very well, and they were asking me what do I think. That literally, and I've had it happen many times. So it's not really it's scary. It's like because you got these people asking you things, you got stuff going on that sometimes you can't even talk about it because it's just you know I guess classified, is that's the right word. So Fred, we're going to see this happen, and if just like a doctor, if a doctor keeps getting people healed of cancer and through his particular way of getting it, and they've been to 10 other doctors and they didn't do anything but take their money, and you got that one doctor who people need to find out who he is, and they will be contacting him, uh, you know, to find out, how did you heal those people, or what's that doctor? They'll be asking the patients, what's that doctor's name? We want to go there, and so it's not about being famous, and it's about getting it right. It's about learning and growing and becoming successful in whatever it is that you do. So I think this thing with Biggs and saying this for him, I'm hoping that if he hasn't already figured this out, he may have that maybe he will be able to hear that, and I hope it helps him. Not that I think I can help him so much, but sometimes I get things that are pretty cool, and so I just wanted to share that with everybody. Maybe some of you guys can contact this ministry. I'm not going to do it personally because I know I have friends who listen to him and they contact him. And so, if you want to do that, I give you permission. And don't tell him my name. If he asks you, maybe, but if that happens, but just to know that that he's going to get set free from that pain that I've experienced of thinking I messed something up when really I think he didn't at all. I really do. And I've been very tough on him. I have a good friend of mine who really loves, Brandon Biggs. He brags about Brandon Biggs all the time. We're like, okay, dude, well, how many words has he really had come to pass? I mean, his words sound great. I'm really blunt about it because I know I'm in the business. I do this. This is my life. You have to ask when you do this. You know what questions to ask. Let's say, how many words has he had come to pass? I mean, literally come to pass. Not almost, but come to pass. Give me a list of those. Like I like to see them. Because that's what world leaders are going to do. That's what people are going to do that are going to be seeking their counsel. They're going to be saying, well, how many words has he had that have actually come to pass? That's what they're going to be asking. They're not going to be asking you, how many words did he do that were really cool, that you really liked? No, they're going to be asking you, how many words did Brandon Biggs get or whoever that came to pass? Like Lance Walnut. Lance Walnut is a merchandiser. I do not like that about him at all, but I like him a lot. I think that I think probably a lot of people, including President Trump and others, that have contacted him and asked him about things because he got this thing right about Trump about being Cyrus. Y'all remember that? He called Trump Cyrus, and that just happened to be exactly right. It was so amazing, such an amazing word that he got. That I mean, everybody's like going, "Whoa, dude!" That thing passed around like, and when you listen to him, he's a very smart guy. Just he's a very together person. He's dignified. He's friendly, nice, and very knowledgeable. I think he had like the Seven Mountains teachings. About Lance Walnut had the Seven Mountain teaching. Mike and Cindy Jacobs used to tell me what an awesome guy that he was. I mean, they told me that a long time ago, and talked about his teachings. Well, I just didn't really get into it because you know I don't know why. I mean, I listened to some of his stuff and said that's really cool, but it's too heavy for me. I can't handle it. So, but he got it right on, man. He got it right on, and so it's so amazing. So people like that, especially when you give words about a president, or it could be a president of a company, or a family member that a father or mother who you gave a word to. That, and so anyway, the influence that you get from getting God's words right, or giving good medical information that helps people, that actually helps people, or getting words from God that actually come to pass. and maybe you've had it takes more than just one. If you got one, that's great. But really, just like Elisha had been checked out by the king of Israel several times. Elisha would say, "Now they're waiting for you over there now," and he'd say, "Yeah, right, okay, I believe, okay." He'd go have it checked out, and sure enough, the guys come back. Yeah, they're waiting for you out there to kill you. And he got after a while, the king started just believing Elisha. It was amazing. And then he called him when he brought all the army, the military of the Syrian army, and brought them in by hand without any blood being shed or any sword being swung, and just brought them right into the camp of the army of Israel. I mean, it's just mind boggling when you think about that. And they called him Father. They said, Father. When I read that, it touched me. And I probably read it 100 times, but I never realized it was so touching to know that the prime minister of Israel, or then the king of Israel, is calling the prophet Father. When are we going to start, growing more and more? And this is all of us to the prophet realm. So I think we're going to start doing that. I think we're going to start, listening to people who have reputations for getting things right, and kings and prime ministers and whatever are going to be seeking advice. Like I said, I've had different people, that I didn't even know who they were. I don't know how they got my phone number, but they called me up and they said, "I'm the, so and so, so and so, so and so, of his, amazing, large, huge companies and banks," and saying, "What do I do about this?" They would give me names of companies sometimes and say, "Tell me what it's going to do." And I mean, literally, it's like, okay, I don't know anything about it, but okay. So it's really amazing. The pressure is unbelievable sometimes. With that, I don't like that particular thing when they call you and want you to, can you tell me, what about this company and is it going to do good or not do? So it comes with a lot of, like, what if you missed it, or what if you didn't get it just right? They're going to come back on you, and these guys can, get attorneys and whatever they want to do. What, what I'm saying? It gets really crazy sometimes. So so it's really, Lance Wallnau is one that, like I said, Mike Finney Jacobs years ago told me about Lance, that he's going to be one of the great ones, and I think they're right. I think if he wasn't a merchandiser, I would really call him great. But merchandising just kind of messes him up for me, as far as wholeheartedly approving of him because of what the Lord's told me. But it's his business really, and God will be the judge between all of us. So we will see about all that. But anyway, so very interesting. That's kind of my message tonight. I wanted to kind of bring that up and out to help some of you understand that whatever level you're at with God, you're not going to understand everything He's telling you at first. So quit being so hard on yourself. Quit saying, "Well, I guess I'm just not going to be able to get it." So just give yourself some breathing room. Yeah, when you mess up, get it right with God. That's what I had to do. And He's so forgiving. He's so loving. He's so kind. I've messed up some pretty big stuff before, by adding to it and taking away from it. I've done that. I mean, I've admitted that. And it was important stuff. And, it grieved my heart for I don't know how long. And I honest to God thought I wasn't going to get over it. And my heart was breaking, and I thought the gift was gone, and blah, blah, blah. When I finally truly realized, and with all truth and honesty, that I had added to it, and it had messed it up, that I just said, "God, would you forgive me for messing up your work?" That was my work. Would you forgive me for messing up your work? You know what? I mean, instantly, instantly, a major operation thing. It was forgiven just like that. I mean, if you only knew if I could explain that to you better, you would know how big that was and how much it showed me. It's still, I still remember the pain of it. So I go back and I'm going like, I don't ever want to do that again. I hope I never mess. Oh God, and I hope I don't. But it's just give yourself a break. Look at the people in the Bible who God chose to bring Christ into the world, who were a bunch of mess ups, man. A bunch of mess ups, boy. Not that they were sinners, and sinners in the sense of adultery and stealing and cheating. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about messing up God's word, like Abraham did, and not understanding it. And so God doesn't hold you accountable for things, and He knows that you need to learn how to apply. He doesn't hold you accountable for those things. Now, some things, he had to ask forgiveness for, but overall, he knew he was learning like a child in the first grade. When you say, a plus a one plus one equals three, and the teacher goes, no, he explains it to you. He doesn't tell you you're stupid. He just says, no, one plus one is two. See, one and one, that's two. And you get it explained. God does the same thing, y'all. He does the same thing. He's not condemning you because you didn't get it right. Nah, he wants to help you. He wants to show you. He wants you to grow and learn. And if you make mistakes, and if it's the kind of mistake that you need to get it right, then get it right. If not, just learn from it. The kid that added one plus one and it came up to three in his mind didn't mean he sinned, right? He just didn't understand. So it's the same thing with us. So there you go. All right, that's it for me on that tonight. Anything else you guys want to ask questions or anything going on with the war uh, going on there? Uh, I think the big thing right now is that there's so much negative talk that goes on about it all. Of course, this is one of the most major operations in the globe. It'll be the biggest thing. I think that's going to be. It's going to be bigger than the Berlin Wall. That was really big, according to a lot of people. I think this is so amazing. This the fact they are bringing down the regime and the way that they're doing it. It's so layered. There's so many layers to it. It's deep and heavy. It's widespread. It's you name it. I mean, it's like wow. So so if you're listening to the news, if you find the right news, and Fox does pretty good. CBN Christian Broadcasting Network does really good. They're one of the most honest news cycle people that I know. I've gotten a lot of information from them uh, that as far as the real information, and they check out their information. They're really really good. They're very sober minded people. Are very spiritual. Prayer, the pray over you right there. So CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network, used to be Pat Robinson years ago. Now his son takes it. Really great guy. Also, boots on the ground with TBN. They get a lot of good information. You know, so yeah. So if you're keeping up with all that, those are the people. Some of the people that are good to listen to, in my opinion, as to giving you good information. If you know some good information, news cycle people, news platforms, let me know about it. I may check it out. But those are some of the ones I have one that I listen to that's really, really tight and really amazing and a lot of confirmation. And so, but there's my favorite ones. So, anyway, all right, tonight, y'all, if you don't have any questions, if you don't have anything you want to say or share, last night we had some questions from Deborah from Washington, used to be Washington. And so that was awesome. If you guys have anything you want to ask or share, or maybe you got an opinion, what we talked about tonight, or what we talked about anytime, or something we've never talked uh, about what you think is going to happen with Iran. Uh, I'll try to answer that for you. Any questions about, is this war going to last forever? That's what people fear, that we're going to get into a war that's going to last forever. Because the Iran people, the leaders are very, very crafty. They are crafty. But anyway, so if you have a question about any of that or about anything, I'll be glad to try to answer it for you. Maybe you can answer some questions for me. I don't know. But other than that, if you don't have anything, I'm going to call it a night tonight. So it's almost 9 o'clock. And if you want to ask any questions about Brandon Biggs, I would love to try to answer that if I can. About prophets in general, what's considered a false prophet, uh, you know, pre-tribulation rapture. Maybe you think I'm really off on that. It's okay. I will definitely just debate you over that for sure, and we can have some fun with it. But anyway, that's kind of what's up with me. And so if you have those questions, you can go to the chat on Facebook or YouTube or whatever you're on the video platforms, and you can ask any question that you want. I'll try to answer any of them. Um, what about gold and silver? That's one thing Deborah was asking about last night is that I think the battles going on would affect gold, and I think it's going to make it do better, but go higher. We will see. Because I know it's all going to go higher, and so that's why I think that no matter what goes on, it's all going to go higher. So yeah, so right now gold is up again. It's been really good since 5,215. We bought gold at 1,800. It's now 5,200. We bought it here for PGN for you guys at 1,822. 181,822 in October, yeah, of 2023, October the 4th. And now it is up 5,215. I think that's quite a bit of profit, wouldn't you say? Yeah, so it's doing really good there. But we didn't get in it because one thing I shared with Deborah that, and she wasn't really asking me that question, but one of the things I wanted people to know that we didn't get in it to make a bunch of money off of it, although we are and we will, but y'all will. The ministry will make a lot of money off that. We already have made a lot of money off of it, but the big thing is that we didn't get into it just for that, though that was a big part of it. It was more for the fact that everything's going to currency, gold and silver, and that's where it's all going. And it was a symbol that we were doing prophetically, a prophetic act that we did, and took 90 to 95% of our cash in the bank that we saved up for years to buy a building and a studio, and we bought gold and silver to invest for you guys, not for me personally. I have nothing to do with any of it. It's like an investment for people that are faithful to PGN. You can call the PGN faithful PGN, and it is doing very good. But the reason we did it was because it's going to be currency. It's going to be the world's currency. Not that the, the Texas gold and silver debit card is the only thing we're going to have. But I'm just saying that's going to be one of the that's the thing that God showed me. So there will be other things that go along with it, digital money. So yeah, really great question. So if you guys have any questions about any of that, I can answer that if you'd like. Um, yeah. All right. It's the 11th day of the war, I think, in Israel, and oil has gone up. I think Carmen sent me something saying oil went up to $4. I don't know if it's still that high or not, but it will be for a few days, maybe a few weeks. But it's just temporary. It's going to be well worth the trouble that Trump is going through here, and it's highly organized. And I mean, it's just blessed. It's blessed by God. So he's fulfilling the word of the Lord, I believe. So yeah, so he's doing that, and it's going to cause oil to go up a little bit for a short season. So just know that. I think we've already talked about that already. It's temporary. It's going to be temporary, but it's already happening a little bit. So yeah. All right. So we try to help keep people up on what we believe God is saying. And so if you have any opinions about any of that, or you have something God's told you, you can surely share it with us. And we will, if I believe it's right in God, I'll say so. If I don't, I'll just say I don't know about that or whatever. If I disagree with it, I'll say I disagree. But people have been right when I've been wrong. So about different opinions. All right, y'all. Um, all right. So we don't do 2, 3, 4 hour shows anymore unless people ask questions and things are happening. We're talking to people, but we would love to do that. We're willing to. I got a lot of energy. I could be on for however long you guys would be on. But all right, so there you go. And if you have anything, I want to give it a couple of minutes here. Play a song tonight. Let's go here. All right, so let's go here to play a song. give me a second here. All right, give me a second here. I'm trying to look at something. There we go. I found it. Okay. All right, here we go. One of Daryl's songs. Thank you, Daryl, for that song. Here we go.
Jesus said, turn away from sin. Jesus said, to see the kingdom of heaven, you must be born again. If you love me, you will keep my word. That Sabbath holy, haven't you heard? Jesus said, I was sent for the lost sheep, looking into those commandments you know you must keep. Jesus said, repent of your sins. Stop living the way you will never win. If you love the world, this would be a true disaster. Like the good book said, you can't serve two masters. Jesus told Peter, you will deny me on 3 separate occasions. Peter looked at Jesus without any hesitation. No. Judas said, Jesus, I will never deny you. I will always be true. Jesus said, before the rooster crows 3 or any time. Father, forgive, for they don't know. In the Bible it says, you reap what you sow. In the end, it is better to give than receive. Find the narrow gate if you truly believe Jesus lives forever. Jesus lives forever. Jesus more than ever. Christ is King. Christ is King. Follow the light of the world. The Pope can't save you. Buddha can't save you. Buddha can't save you. Muhammad can't save you. Only Jesus can save you. Put your trust in Christ. Make him the mediator of your life. Make him the mediator of your life. Make him the mediator of your life. Jesus said, turn away from sin to see the kingdom of love again. Jesus said, to see the kingdom of heaven.
All right, we did it. All right, that's from Daryl Paul. All right, so Vicky's asking a great question. What do you think? Hang on a second. Make sure I get that right. All right, Nikki, thank you for that. Nikki from Florida and Charles and all the create kids and grandkids. What do you think uh, is going to happen to America after Trump is not in office? I don't even want to think about that. um, that's a good question. I do think about it for sure. I don't know because uh, the three things that Trump has done, the three things that he has going on, one of them he's fulfilled it all the way that we have prophesied here personally at uh, PGN that were big words was the bombing of the site, the nuclear site in somebody's test. Give me a thumbs up, man. The nuclear sites. He bombed the nuclear sites. We got a word. I think some of you guys know. Uh, Back in April of 2024, that I saw Israel attacking the nuclear sites of Iran, which had never happened before, and they were bombing them. And then all of a sudden, it looked like when one of the bombs hit, it looked like an earthquake was going on, right? Or the earthquake happened at the same time, or God made an earthquake. I wasn't sure exactly. I just know I saw that, and I talked about that on the show. And so, sure enough, he brought that to pass because he's the one. Israel had bombed. Israel was in on it, and Trump would let Israel, doing it. They were agreeing, and then they needed a bunker busting bomb, which Israel didn't have, and so Israel says, Trump, go for it. So Trump went for it, and he bombed it, and it looked like an earthquake. I mean, it went down deep. I never thought that would have been the answer to that, but it was. So that's one word. The second word that he gave that we received here from PGN and gave publicly in PGN was the fact that the word about the Iran regime coming down, and that's happening right now. That's a really, really, really big one, and Trump is heading that up. I think God's using him to do. That's pretty. That's one of the most. Everybody will find out later how big that the thing is that Trump is doing. You will see. It's just if it wasn't for the fact that the cup of iniquity is full, it wouldn't be happening. I guarantee you, it's that big. So he's bringing it. So I think about him, right? Look what God's using him to do as far as in my own personal life, prophetic life. And so the third thing is that we've been talking about since 2021 that Trump is going to put a new system up. He passed some laws. He got Texas passed the laws to have a debit card, which we prophesied about it since 2021. Um, and he's been he's working on that right now. He's got the board of peace. It's nations from all over the place. We said that was going to happen in 2021. That America is going to be connected to nations around the globe. That's going to be competition with the Antichrist system. Nations like China, Russia, and all. And so that's happening. They passed the laws. It's going to be activated partially in 20 September of this year. That's a big, big thing. So I'm really concerned about once that gets going, it's going to have to be. It looks like by the time if he's not president anymore, which legally I guess he can't be unless they change the laws, that he will have all that set up, and whoever gets in office next will be part of it without messing it up. That really concerns me. And so I think that somehow God has to have some kind of way, because those are big prophetic words that he's been very much a part of in a huge way. In fact, it was all his decisions. He didn't ask anybody; he just did it. So that just kind of tells me, that the Nineveh thing that happened with Trump, fall to his knees and all that, is a very beautiful thing. And then Biggs, of course, having the word about the earshot and even the eardrum thing, which I say now is probably, I think he thinks he missed that or added to that. I think he heard right. I really do. And so I'm hoping that he'll be able to hear that. So am I concerned about that? Yes. I don't know. It depends, because here's what's happening is, and I talked about this with Deborah on the show last night when she asked some questions about it, about the gold. Is if the work? I said, well, when we know that the dollar is going to really be messed up for this one reason, we're going to have two systems. So one system's going to be hate the dollar, which is China, Russia, because the dollar's been used to spank them every time that we didn't like what they were doing. We spanked them with it. We, you uh, used it as a weapon to keep them in line. So they're gonna come completely out of the dollar. China, Russia, and all the other dictatorial nations that I'm going to name them all, but there's a bunch of them, and they're big and they're powerful. Iran was one of them. Now that's all changed. So they're going to completely do with. They will not have anything to do with the dollar, and they're hoping it's going to destroy the dollar, and it's going to create a thing where the dollar is going to become a whole different thing. It's going to just be no longer the dollar that we've known it to be. It's just going to basically, I guess, melt away would be the right way to say it. And so, and the new system that Trump is putting in action with the Genius Act and the Texas laws that have already been passed, that's going into action in a few months here. That's a big, big, big thing. Operation Two. It took a lot to get them to pass those laws, and I'll try to explain that sometime why passing those laws was huge. And it took our governor Abbott to do it. He's a very tough guy, just like Trump, and they're very, very logical thinking people, very down to earth people, and very spiritual people at the same time. So I'm very concerned about that. Yeah, uh, hopefully he'll have it set up enough to where China and Russia and their system will no longer have anything to do with the dollar, so the dollar will kind of be a different thing. And then the new system that Trump sets up, which will be working around the dollar, uh, you know, where the dollar is just not really the thing anymore at all. It's going to be this new system going on. Texas and the U.S. and all these other states, globally, these countries, these nations around the world, which we've talked about since 2021, they're going to have the system that we're talking about because Elon Musk is going to be make that applicable uh, through his satellite system, which is already you know being done basically. So yeah, once that's established, and then whoever comes in behind Trump, maybe they won't be able to mess it up very easy because I don't know. I mean, it's really. I'm hoping God will speak to me about that to settle me down about it because I'm very right in the middle of it. Actually, as you might know. So yeah, there you go. So did that answer it? Anything else you want to ask? All right, I'm waiting for Nikki to see if she has another question or not. Um, I'll be glad to stay up with you guys and talk and chat and yak and whatever. Gonna have somebody to chat with, yak with. So we'll wait on her to get. There's a little bit of delay on the video, so we will wait on that and give it a minute. All right, I understand that is we can't really say, but I was hoping that God had spoke in more detail. Not as far as what's going to happen with Trump. Uh, maybe he'll become king or something. I don't know. I really don't know. I have not been spoken to by God about that. I've only been spoken to God about as far as Trump, it wouldn't really have. I don't know if it had anything to do with Trump, but the the bombing, the earthquake bomb thing that happened in uh, the nuclear sites in Iran, that was him. I didn't know. I didn't know he was. I didn't have a clue who was going. I thought Israel was going to do that. In fact, it was an Israeli thing, but Trump, had the only bomb that could do that, so they called on him. The fact that that happened like that was mind-boggling. And then the Iran thing going on right now, that's really huge. And then the new system thing. Uh, if and when God speaks, please share. Oh, I definitely will. Yeah, I do not know what's going to happen to America. I'm hoping that Trump will have it. Hopefully, Trump will prepare the way for that in a way that it can't be messed up too easily, right? Uh, so I don't know. I am concerned about it. I'm not worried about it, not yet. I'm not overly frustrated about it, but when you watch the word of the Lord come to pass through Donald Trump like that, especially when you gave the words, you're very connected to it. You're very connected to the whole thing, prophetically, emotionally, spiritually, in every way. I can't even describe to you the ways that I'm connected to all this. Um, so yeah, it is concerning. I am. Uh, so God has to have a way because God did it, right? God's the thing I always look at is that God told me about it, and I knew nothing about any of it. I'm about as ignorant as you can be on that stuff. God showed me. I brought it here on the show, made it public over and over and over again, and then because God did it, then God's going to watch after it. That's the way I look at it. So when I can't figure something out and I start getting overly concerned about it, God says, "Well, if did I give it to you?" I said, "Yeah." Did I tell you there was going to be gold and silver debit card? Back in 2021 when nobody wasn't a blink in anybody's eye. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, just leave it in my hands." And did I tell you about the earthquake thing, bomb? And yeah, you did. Okay, then just trust me, it's going to happen. Did. So the Iranian thing, I told you about that. So why are you? Because it's not even finished up yet, right? That's still a major, major operation going on. I mean, it's major. So, uh, so when I watch the news about how it's not going to happen and they're going to, I'm going like, God says, "Well, did I tell you about that?" I said, "Yeah." "Did you know anything about it before then? Did you research and find out?" No, there was nothing, nothing. You told me. So why don't you just trust me with it? I went, "Okay, that's good thinking." And the same thing with all this stuff with the new currency and all that. It's a God thing. So, if God birthed it, He's going to take care of it. It doesn't mean that it won't have issues. It doesn't mean that there won't be battles. I'm sure there probably will. I really don't know. I wish I could say. We got, what, a couple of years before that happens? 2.5 years? A lot can change between now and then. I mean, oh my gosh. According to uh, Texas and the legal system of the debit card, gold and silver thing, that's going to be settled and in place for good within May 2027. It's going to activate. It's going to activate in September, as I've told you guys many times. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that or not, but September 2026. We've talked about that for a while since they passed along. So then they're going to have it work through it. Get it working, get it going. Make mistakes, I'm sure, and make it work really good. And then they said they should be finalized and solid by May 2027. So Trump will still be around then, right? So hopefully it'll all be settled and ready and going on and on and on. Okay, so Nikki says, Anya came on. Good evening, she says. Ready? I said, hello. All right. Nikki says, do you think that we as Americans will have 2 to 3 years bad times like no food, etc.? Uh, like, what do you mean? The Great Tribulation? What I call the Great Tribulation? You might make that a little bit more clear. Do you think that we as Americans will have 2 to 3 years of bad times like no food, etc.? Uh, no food, etc. Um, are there going to be people that aren't going to have any food? Yeah. Are there going to be Americans? Yeah, we have that right now. Is it going to get worse at times? I'm sure it will. But I do not see those that are obeying God as having nothing short of God's provision. One of the things that we are prepared for is the gold and silver thing. No, like Great Depression. Oh, like Great Depression. Okay, I see what you're saying. No, like Great Depression, she says. Okay. Uh, well, that's to me, that's the Great Tribulation. We're going to go through the Great Tribulation. Or, I know we are. I don't even think it or wonder about it. We're going to go through that. So, will we have 2 3 years of hard times through that? Yeah, but you're saying like no food, etc. Uh, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think yes, America is going to have a hard time. Is America overall going to have a Great Depression? I do not think so. I see through the gold and silver thing that the investment that God had me make for you guys in October 2023. Yeah, October the 4th, 2023. That was a signal to me that God is going to do like He did in Egypt. He's going to provide gold and silver, manna, a lot of food, a lot of things. So you're asking me a question that is a really good question, but with what happened with Israel when they got into the wilderness, that was you know could have been a couple of years of hard time if they went straight through it, but God provided for them miraculously. So I think the answer to the question is, if you're believing God, I think God's going to take care of you. And I do not think we have to. I'm not against saving food and preparing a little bit for that, but I truly believe that if you read the Bible, you're going to see that obedient people get blessed. Some will get blessed a lot. Some will get blessed a little bit. Some will get just barely blessed to barely make it by. So, and there will be, of course, there's always people that are going to be starving, having no food. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying I don't know why that always happens, but it does. So I am not concerned about a Great Depression. No. I know Brandon Biggs is talked about is another thing. I mean, I just saying what he said. He saw the shelves being empty and all that. I don't remember exactly all of what he said, but he probably, I don't know. I don't know what these guys, the pre-tribulation people, they really think backwards to me. Oh, we can't be here because you know what, God's, it's going to be so bad. I'm going like, where's that at in the Bible that when it was so bad, God couldn't take care of his people? I don't understand that. Thinking doesn't make any sense to me. Will some people suffer? There's always people suffering without food. Will every American? No. It's not about being an American only, and I know what you mean by that. It's not about being a born again believer who's walking in obedience with God. If you're walking in obedience with God, there ain't going to be any, without food and dying of starvation. Not for believers. I think we'll have hard times and we have to scrape around a little bit. That's possible for some Christians who scrape around already. They're always scraping around. They're not really living in obedience. I think people that are walking in obedience with God, for the most part, are going to be very well taken care of. Yeah. So I do not fear Great Depression at all. Simply because what God showed me, especially about the provision thing of the gold and silver. That was a prophetic act of God's provision for his people. The way I didn't know anything about gold and silver, nothing about it. I was about flying by the seat of my pants and by the grace of God. And we took 90 to 95% of what was in our bank account to cash and bought gold and silver. Everybody told me, that knew about it, that knew how much and all that I was crazy. 20% would be, kind of way out there. 90%, you have lost your mind. So to show you how much I believe God is through that one prophetic act that happened. And now the fruit, we bought gold and silver. We bought gold at 1800. in 22, it's now at 5,000 in 22. We bought silver cheap. Now silver's high, really high. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing. God just said, do it and get it done before October the 13th, 2023. And that's what I did. Fumbling around, got it right. I'm not going to sit here and act like I knew what I was doing. I was very frustrated, going like, am I ever going to get this done? I'm going to miss God and God's going to like shoot me or something like that. And by the grace of God, I made it. I got it. I got it done. Thank you, Jesus. It was all the grace of God, and that was a sign to me that God's going to take care of His people. So if we have Great Depression, I don't know. You might, maybe. I really don't know whether you will or not. You don't have to. I don't think. Well, America as a general whole, uh, I don't know. I can't help what's going to happen to America as general whole. Non-believers. I can't help what's going to happen with them. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't have a word about what's going to happen with them. All I know is that God told me, I'm going to provide for you. And the prophetic act we did October the 4th, 2023 was the sign to me personally. It's like the prophetic act I got about Iran and the regime going down. When I get the trigger signal from that, I knew it was going to happen. There wasn't no get people to pray about it. Let's get people to pray about the Iran regime being taken down. It's really big, it's gonna be really bad, but they're going down for sure. I didn't ask people to pray with me about that because it was the word of the Lord, right? And now, the whole Navy, millions and millions of dollars are being spent on that from a word from the Lord, from Donald Trump, bring it to pass. Thank you, Jesus, for that. I got the easy job. Looked like to me he's got the tough job. But I don't know. He probably enjoyed himself. So I'm not really concerned about that. I mean, helping people, yeah. Are people going to be hungry? People are hungry now. You think that America will have to fight within our nation because of invasion? Do you think America will have to fight within our nation because of invasion? Uh, I think I don't have a word from God on that, but I think it's possible we could have some trouble from what Biden did, allowing all people to come into to our country. I'm sure we have a lot of Chinese and you know Iranians and Muslims, and we already know we got that going on, right? So do I think that? But I think here's the answer to that question. That yeah, we can have a little bit of fighting, but are we going to be overwhelmed by it? No. Why? Because of what Donald Trump is fulfilling the word of the Lord right now in Iran. Because of what he's doing in Iran. That's why the people in America need to be praying for that and quit going like, well, what does that have to do with me? Why do you talk about that so much, Chandler? What does it have to do with us? It has everything to do with us. Because they planted those people, they planted all their cells when we were sleeping over here. Not, oh, yeah, well, we don't need to worry about Iran. What are they going to do to us? It's not about them invading us from their country. It's about invading us from within. So, was it going to happen? Was it on its way to happening? It definitely was. It definitely was. That's why I need to thank God for Donald Trump and the word of the Lord, because now that they're dealing with this is going to dry all of it up. They're laying the axe to the root. That's literally what's happening, literally, physically. I mean, like, no doubt about it. But what you've got is all these people out there prophesying and giving their opinions and putting information together and saying, oh, yeah, we're going to have our nation's going to be no groceries in the grocery store and all this stuff. And, we're going to have a little bit of that at times. Yeah. But people just make it look like we're going to just go down. We're going to be a third world country. It's going to be horrible. That is not happening anymore. We had a Nineveh, number one, that the Nineveh did not stop the end times from increasing and happening. That's still happening. That did not stop that. Like most people thought Trump would stop the end times from escalating faster. It didn't. It made it go faster, actually. So because the end times, it's time. The cup of iniquity is full. It's time for all this end time stuff to happen. So it's going to happen whether Joe Biden is president or Donald Trump. It doesn't really matter. Now, depending on who is president, is how it will happen. And with Trump, it's how it's going to happen. It's going to be better, but it's still going to happen. We're still going there regardless. But are we going to have all that? The gold and silver thing is going to take care of, and that's happening in September. That's already in action. So a lot of these things, people are stirred up the fear of all this. I think I think they're full of it. Actually, you don't know the truth. I think they're full of fear. I think they read the Bible wrong. And when you read the Bible wrong, and you got fear to go along with that, you're gonna interpret life in a whole different way. But when you have the Bible, mostly right, you don't read it through the eyes of fear. You read it through the way it says it is, with God's provision everywhere to those who are righteous and walk before Him. And these idiots, and I say idiots because I want to call them serpents. If you would rather me call them serpents, and I can do that, or snakes, we can do that. Snakes, okay, let's call them snakes. These snakes, idiots says people. Oh, why call somebody an idiot? Jesus would never call somebody an idiot. Okay, I'll go with that. Let's call them snakes and vipers. These snakes and vipers, religious snakes and vipers, they give us all kinds of poison and things, and people just go for it because they got fear, and the fear that they have, those people are confirming their fear, so they agree with the fear rather than the Bible. It's amazing. It's literally amazing. So, wars and rumors of wars. We're gonna have that, yeah. From within, from without, always gonna have wars and rumors of wars. There's gonna be somebody warring one way or the other. And it might increase a little bit with the Iran thing going on. That may be some of their retaliation, but is it going to be overwhelming and kill a bunch of people? No. Will people be hurt and wounded and some killed? Maybe so. I'm not saying that they won't, but it's not going to be, they're going to take over our whole country and our whole country's going down. That's what a lot of people say. I'm not saying you're saying that. But that's what they feed you full of fear, and people just eat it up, man. If you're a fear monger, if you're a fear based person, you're going to eat that stuff up. And you should hear what Prophet so and so said that we're all going down, man. We don't get raptured out, we're all going to die. We're going to have to take the mark of the beast, and they're going to, we're going to get our heads chopped off. I know that's what Brother John Hagee and probably what is his name, Brandon Biggs. Every pre-tribulation preacher has a little bit things different, but they all believe the same general thing. There's going to be one system, and if you're here for that, you're going to get your head cut off or you're going to die of starvation, one or the other. And they're so full of it, it is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. That doctrine is from hell, from the snakes and vipers. Yeah, I'm going to quit calling them idiots and call them snakes and vipers. That probably work. That's more biblical. Okay, so you get me worked up here, but yeah, so this is really it. And are we going to have an invasion? No invasions. Trouble, things happen, of course. The riots that happened a few years ago, when Trump, look at all that. That was tearing up our country. It was amazing. Yeah, so we're going to have some of that stuff sometimes. But overtake us, that's what most people are afraid of. Will I be overtaken by it? Are we going to be overtaken? That's the basic fear that they're thinking when they say that stuff, is that. And we are not going to be overtaken because we had a Nineveh, number one. And the way the end times are going to work out, and they're going to keep going there, is going to be worked out through Trump for the next 3 years or 2.5, whatever it is. And however the end times, whoever's in that seat, the things that it still goes that direction. It doesn't change. If people thought it would change, it just goes a different way. It happens in a different way. So it's all going to happen. It's just going to happen in a little bit different way. So if Biden would be president, yeah, I think the whole thing would have been a pile of dog duke, and it would have been really bad, with the same result of the end of the end times. But with Trump, I think he's, going to be used to make it easier. Not that it's going to be perfect. That's what I think. Is that a thus saith the Lord? It is not. But it is my general knowledge of the Bible and the information that I get about where we're going with gold and silver, which is going to save our nation, not bring it down. And that's being activated September of this year. Okay. Thank you for sharing with this with me. You're welcome. All right. Thanks for asking questions. Anybody else got any questions from what we just talked about? You can ask me anything, and I will just tell you exactly what I think. You're not going to wonder what I'm thinking. I will tell you exactly what I'm thinking. So hopefully I can do it in a way you can understand it. All right. So anybody else got any more questions? And I could answer questions all night long. Literally, I love this stuff. And hopefully I'm making it clear. If I'm not making it clear and you want me to repeat it again or maybe say it a different way, I'd be more than happy to do that. Okay. Okay, Andrea. Okay, Andrea says, here's one for you. Brandon Biggs prophesies on aliens from outer space invading the earth. He does say they are fallen angels, but talks about them being deception to explain away the pre-trib rapture. There ain't gonna be a pre-trib rapture. Not gonna be one of those. Sorry, Brandon. I love you, bro. Got the ear thing good and the eardrum thing. I think you got it right. Okay, I've heard about this about great deception from aliens for years. All I can say is we must stay close to God and His heartbeat. Yeah. So, okay, Andrea's sharing something. I'm not sure what she's saying. You need to tell me what that is. I don't have to go there and look at that for now because in the middle of a show. But if you could kind of tell me what it's saying, that would be nice, and then I can try to comment on that. All right. And Anya from Maine is saying, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump will be president another 4 years. Well, I think that would be cool. I really think that would be great. That's what I'm hoping for. I really do. I mean, I can't prophesy that because I don't know that. But, Nikki's talking about that. It's a thought in people's mind. I think that Trump being president for 4 more years would be perfect. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but yeah, Ani says she wouldn't be surprised. Okay. So hopefully, I hope you're right about that. I hope that's third term could be possibility in global crisis. Oh, okay, in a global crisis. Interesting. Okay, so Anya is saying, Andrea is saying here, third term could be possibility in global crisis. Wow. Okay, I'm not up on that. So I think that would be awesome. So if we need to pray for a global crisis, maybe that's what Trump is doing. He's creating a global. Hey, that Chandler word. Let's take Chandler's words and let's turn them into a global crisis. What do you say? That way I can have another 4 years. He's not saying that. I'm just kidding. But I'm going to tell you right now, this thing that's going on with uh, Iran. Andrea, thanks for sharing it. That look for FDR. Okay, I will do that. So Andrea's saying look for FDR, and then third term could be possibility in global crisis. All right, and then she sent me a link on it. If you want that link, I haven't opened it up yet because I'm right in the middle of the show. But thank you for sharing that. I hope so. I like Trump. I've always liked Trump. People, including my wife, thought I had a thing against him or something, even though I voted for him. I love Trump. When you're a prophet, you don't get to do what you want to do. You know, you have to do what God says. And I couldn't put my opinions in on things on God's word, although I had done it and made mistakes with it. Uh, yeah, so you learn after a while. You got to just do what God says. My wife just get mad at me. She's just trying to help me, right? She's a good wife, trying to help me out. You need to quit talking bad about Jonah, Shoni and Marcus Lamb. Because she would tell me stuff. She said, "Listen, you got to think straight, boy. I love you and everything, but you got to quit talking like that about Joni and Marcus because they're going to be fine. They got money, they got power, they got that." And going like, I just look at her and like going, "I love you too. I'm so glad you're trying to help me." But she was wrong about all that. She was right about everything else. Uh, Family stuff. She was very good, very instinctive. Instinctive. Am I saying it right? Uh, but as far as prophecy things, she just couldn't figure them out, so she just tried to get me to change them all. It was cute as it can be, and thank God I didn't. Okay, it's always Anya says he's always said that they stole the election. Yeah, yeah. Well, I told. I remember Andrew will confirm this when before Trump was in his second heading before the election happened for Trump's second term or Biden won. I told Andrew came on the show and I said, they got something up their sleeve. They got you can ask her. That's what I told her. I said they got something up their sleeve about this Trump thing, and so they did. And so whatever you want to call it up their sleeve, they definitely had something up their sleeve. And I said, I hope you're praying because they got something up their sleeve. I listened. I listened to that actual conversation yesterday or day before because I've been going through, trying to find words and stuff. I actually listened to that, or I don't think I'm talking to Andrea on a bit, but I'm talking about how I talked to Andrea and said that to her. And it's years ago, I said, that stuff. Yeah, he's always said they stole the election. Yeah, they definitely had something up their sleeve, and we warned people about it. I didn't know, I didn't know how they were going to have something up their sleeve, but I knew they did because of the Caligula dream that I had, the Caligula information that I got about Caligula and the third emperor of Rome and how they're going to do Trump, take him out. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I really love this stuff, man. It's like, wow, really cool. So there you go. All right, anybody else got anything you want to say or share or say you want Trump to be 4 more years? He just very well might do it. I mean, I don't know. I actually am very concerned about it because the word of the Lord, God has to have something to keep it going on. Either another guy that's on that does things like Trump, which is really hard to find. Somebody that thinks like Trump, uh, or something. Something's going to have to happen to protect it because this is and the reason I know he's going to is because God prophesied it all through my own mouth. And then is he not going to take care of it? Why would he tell us this and then not take care of it? Of course he's going to take care of it. How he's going to take care of it, that I don't know. Don't have a clue. All right, this has been really fun tonight, y'all. It's almost 10 o'clock. We've been on for another hour since I said I was going to get off, and I would love to be. I could do this all night long, honest to God. So yeah. Any more questions? Any more ways to say things? Any other make something more clear to me about this? And can you explain that again or this again or whatever the thing about the gold and silver thing and whatever? I'd be glad to do it. And also go back and listen to the show by archive to hear it again. If you didn't quite, you kind of missed it, fading in and out. It will be on here. And then if you ever can find the video, let me know and I'll get the audio for you off the audio. All right. All right. If nobody else has anything else, I'd be glad to answer them. But if you don't, we're going to call it a night. All right. Always fun and interesting with Randy. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it is fun. It is really fun. I always love it, especially when people ask questions because then you kind of know what they're thinking, or not thinking, or maybe they want to think things. I'm not sure. So I try my best to answer it straight up without getting too distracted with a lot of information. So yeah, it is fun. I just love it. Actually, uh, really cool. Thank you, Anya, for that. Nobody else has anything tonight. I'm ready for you. I hope. I will definitely try. Okay, Nikki says, please teach one night on how to prepare by staying close uh, to the Lord in these last days. Okay, just remind me about that. I would love to. I'll just teach you what little I know. I mean, I know some, about it. I'd be glad to share that. Awesome. Please teach one night. Uh, oh, Nicole, she's getting in too deep. No way. I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, let's talk about it. Seriously. Okay, then we have. Thank you, Anya. I'm grateful for you too. Thank you very much. All right. Lachelle Metfin said, "Hey, Randy, been a while. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you too." Uh, yes, thank you. Thank you for being on tonight. All right. Nicole is hitting me right between the eyes with this question I want to talk about, but I've been a little hesitant. It's not really that big of a subject, but it is kind of, She says, can you share about time travel? You mean with angels, the angel travel thing? Is that kind of what you're talking about, or something like that? Time travel, angel travel, or angel, or what are you asking exactly? I think that's what you're saying, but I don't know. We've got a delay on this thing, so it takes a minute or two. Come back. I don't know much about time travel, if that's what you're asking specifically, but um, as the Lord leads. Okay, so, but are you talking about angel travel, or kind of all the same thing? Is that I wrote a song, as Nicole knows, I wrote a song that I've played a few times on the show about traveling, going from one place, like without getting on an airplane, going from here, from Texas to New York, by angel flight, what I call angel flight. I don't know exactly how it works exactly. I called it angel flight because I know that when Lazarus went to heaven, the Lazarus that was poor, needy, a beggar, it said the angels carried him to heaven. Yeah, I think that was so cool when I kind of grabbed a hold of that. The angels carried him to heaven. Woo! Jesus. So, uh, yeah, I don't know what I know. I don't really know much about it. I know that my spiritual mother traveled to like Vietnam back when the days when her husband was in Vietnam. Uh, she's told me this story, and uh, she said that one night she found herself in the tent, or in the outside the tent. I think she said of her, like in Vietnam. The sand was hot. The sand was very hot, right? And so she was walking barefoot because she when she traveled, I guess she forgot to put her shoes on because she just kind of was. All of a sudden was, she was in bed going to sleep. Her husband was overseas, right, in the military, I think in the Air Force, and so she traveled over there in the spirit. I mean, she was just suddenly there. Didn't have her shoes on. Probably had her nightgown on. I'm not sure. Maybe I hope she has some clothes on. I'm not sure. I can't remember with that. But she realizes she walks into this tent, and inside the tent was her husband with some other woman. And she said, "Randy, I saw the whole thing. I saw what she looked like. I think she even said she knew her name. So, I mean, I didn't have a personal experience with that as far as in that particular way, but she did, and I knew she was telling me the truth. She was not very happy about it because she was finding her God showed her her husband was committing adultery on her. Because I think she was already feeling like he was, but didn't know. And so I think God just answered her prayer possibly and confirmed it. So when she got back in her bed from traveling to Vietnam with the Sams, she said her feet were red, hot, like burned. And she said it was so real. She said, I came back, was in my bed, woke up, and my feet were red from, being in that hot sand. So her body physically was there, I guess, because her feet literally burned from the hot sand. She had, being a woman, I think she had very tender feet, I guess. Uh, so she started talking to me about it. I'm going like, wow. I mean, it was sad for her because she's not. I don't think it's exactly what she wanted to see, but it happened, and so yeah. So she tell me about that. Okay, so Nicole's saying yes, angel flight is included in time travel. Okay, all right. I thought that's kind of what you were trying to say, but I wasn't sure. I really don't know about time travel. I wish I could say more about it. I've traveled in the spirit with my body never leaving. Like I was in Lubbock, Texas in 1985, 86, something like that. And I called it word of knowledge at the time because all of a sudden I felt like I was in a foxhole, and Lubbock doesn't have foxholes, as far as I know. I was in a meeting. I was in a meeting. I had, a Wednesday night meeting, or Wednesday or Thursday night meeting, and in front of people, and all of a sudden, I start telling the people that uh, I felt like I was in a foxhole in a war zone, and I've never been in a war zone, and I've never been in a foxhole ever, but I was felt like I was in one, and I told the people I can feel the fear all around me, like, and that's why I knew I was in a war zone. Somehow I knew I was in a war zone. So I was there in the spirit, but I physically was standing there talking to people, telling them what I was feeling, right? So I didn't really like her. I think she left physically. Um, I never left physically. I was just there, and I went there in the spirit realm, felt everything about. Well, I ended up in Lebanon of all places. I was in Lebanon because I got the name of the people. I got the first and last name of George Otis. I thought it was two different people, George, and then later I get the name Otis. He gave me his first and last name. I thought they were two different people. I'm telling the people this. Do anybody know any George? No. I prayed again. I got the name Otis. I said, anybody know anybody named Otis? They went, no, not really. People wanted to raise their hand, but I couldn't think of anybody that knew the name Otis. So I'm going like, I don't know what's going on here. It's really weird. But I was there and I knew the name of that guy. And sure enough, the next day on television on Pat Robinson, CBN, he came on and he said, just last night, early in the morning, George Otis. And he said George Otis. I went, George Otis? My I had one of my friends that was in the meeting call me and tell me about it. I wasn't there. I was praying. I was in the my prayer time, and she said to me, "Yeah, they just said George Otis radio station got blown up because when I saw things going on and felt things like I was in a war zone, I was in a war zone because Lebanon was a war zone, just like it is now. Like Lebanon, you know about Lebanon right now, right? Hezbollah. So I'm in Lebanon in the spirit realm. George Otis radio station was being bombed by a terrorist. It literally came on the news the next day. So in that sense, I traveled there without physically being transported there. And then they found out that exactly what I felt. In fact, one of my intercessor ladies stood up and she said, I saw destruction, and we prayed. I said, no, God, please, no destruction. So that happened, and then the next morning it was all confirmed. The destruction did happen. A radio station got blown up by a terrorist uh, because they're in a war zone there. George Otis was the owner of it. He didn't get killed, but people in his radio station got killed. They said George Otis told me himself. I called him, and he said that the other parts of the studio, the other parts of it, like the tower and that kind of thing, were not damaged. So I went, that's cool. I talked to him literally about it, yeah, years later actually, and he talked to me. He's a very nice guy, and so I traveled like that. Now, recently, I've been suffering with Iran, as I told you guys, and been I've been there in the spirit too, without going there physically. I've been there, and I felt the pain. I felt the suffering. I felt it. It was like a knife in my heart. And then there's something like I can't. I'm not going to talk about right now. But but yeah, I think. And I was in a meeting one time in East Texas. I was in a meeting. I've never been to that particular town or done a meeting in that town before. And so I for the first time, I didn't know anybody there. And I called a lady out like I always do, and I said, "Ma'am, would you stand up, please?" I said, "I see you traveling in the spirit, going places, in the spirit realm." And she just started like her mouth dropped open and she gasped for air, and all she looked around, looked at her friends. Her friends looked at her like, I said, "What are they doing? What's wrong? Is something wrong? Did I say something wrong?" And so, kind of find out, her testimony was that she had already traveled in the spirit already and gone places for the Lord. And so I knew that it was real, and it happened to different people in different ways. Uh, so I wrote a song about it because God showed me that I was going to be doing that. Uh, so we got people commenting on this stuff. Uh, Carmen says it's called. Said the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul said described being caught up in the third heaven in Second Epistle to Second Corinthians 12 to saying he did not know whether it happened in the body or out of the body. Right. I can kind of relate to that. It's called moving in the spirit and carried in the spirit. Okay. Thank you for that. Interesting. Very interesting. Um, let's see. Who else is saying stuff like that? Nikki is saying time travel is like doing greater than what Jesus did. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Time travel is like doing greater than what Jesus did. Well, Elijah ran fast. Remember that? He outran the chariot, and it said he was running by the anointing or by the Spirit. So we know that happens. And that I think there's so many different ways that we travel, time travel and travel by angel flight. I have a song I wrote about that. I think I've heard told you guys that. Maybe you haven't heard. Maybe you have. Maybe I'll play it a little later. But what is your what? Uh, Lachelle says, "What is your thoughts on flat Earth and the firmament?" I really don't know what you're talking about that. The flat Earth and the firmament. I'm not sure what that is. I apologize. Maybe I should know, but I do not know what you mean by that. Okay, so we're talking about angel flight. We're talking about going place in the spirit. I know that I'm going to be doing it. I've done it. I've done it in different ways. I'll talk more about that later when I can. But God told me that I'm going to be traveling, you know, like that. Except it has something to do with angels. And so when I saw that the angels carried uh, Lazarus to heaven, beautiful scripture, I just fell in love with it. I could just see that, like the angel, he was so poor, had nothing all of his life. The dog licked his wounds. I mean, God was just bless his heart. It was really rough. And when he died, the angels came and got him. They just loved him so much. It was so precious, man. I mean, it really touched me when I got a picture of that in my head. So God is starting to open up my mind. I've read the scripture many times, right, about Lazarus. You probably have too. But when I read it the other day, I went, "Oh my gosh!" I just got touched by that. The angels carried him to heaven, and so the Lord had already been showing me before that I'm going to travel by angel flight, which I call angel flight. And so, yeah, I'm going to be doing that. Uh, and so, yeah, so let's play that song. If you don't mind, we'll just go and play that song. It's a new song. It's called Angel Flight. Kind of cool. We'll listen to that. We'll come back and answer more questions. So let's go here. Hang on a second. Let me go here to. Right. All right, Angel Flight. Here we go. It's a new song we just wrote. PGN song.
I will be traveling by airplane. I will be traveling by angel plane. Now down to earthly flight. Unlimited angels be my flight. I'll be traveling wherever He bid me go. By heavenly host, I want you to know. Not bound to wait around to board a flight. I'll be going places wherever I'm needed. I'll be going by heavenly transport. Whenever He's ready, I'll be lead. Heavenly destination. On earth is my reservation. Doing His work, no limitations. Angel flight, take me where He wants me to go. Anytime He's ready, that's where we go. Doing His bidding, evil we're getting rid of. By His power He is our, so be it none. And He is the one by angel flight. It's all me right I won't be traveling by airplane. I will be traveling by angel plane. Now I'm to earth and flight. Unlimited angels be my flight. I'll be traveling wherever He bid me go. By heavenly hosts, I want you to know. I'm bound to wait around to board a flight. I'll be going places wherever I'm needed. I'll be going by heavenly transport. Whenever He's ready, I'll be lead. Heavenly destination. On earth is my reservation. Doing His work, no limitations. Angel flight, take me where He wants me to go. Anytime He's ready, that's where we go. Doing His bidding, evil we're getting rid of. By His power in this hour, so be it done. And He is the one by angel flight. It's all me right
All right. Nicole says, I love that song. Thank you. I do too. Thank you for that. Yeah, I wrote that song in about 5 minutes. Sometimes AI helps me write songs. Sometimes I write them all by myself. Sometimes, AI writes half of it. Sometimes more than that. Most of the time, it's a mix. That one I wrote all by myself in about between 5 and 10 minutes. It was written, which kind of really even made it more supernatural for me because I wrote the song like those words were my words. Those every word were there. The music was not mine. The music was added by AI, but every word, every word was my words. There was no AI didn't write any of those words, right? Because sometimes AI makes some really good words, so I give them credit for it. But not on that one. So we wrote that. That's a PGN song, and yeah, really really cool. So I don't know a whole lot about it. If I've been carried by an angel somewhere, physically, literally, I think I would have known that. Like Carmen said, Paul got caught up in the spirit, whether in the body or out of the body. I can really relate to that one. I've gone places and was there, but my body never left. But my mother, my spiritual mom, was just the opposite. She came back and her feet were burning. She didn't have any shoes on, right? Because she was in bed. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so when I learn more about it, when I have experiences, more experiences, some things I don't want to talk about right now, but yeah, I'm that we're going there. I'm going there. I don't know if you'll go there or not. Everybody probably have a little bit different experience. Um, I've traveled places, like I said, I just gave an example, and I've had this happen to me several times where I've gone somewhere with, and I knew my physical body. I'm pretty sure my physical body hadn't gone anywhere because I got my eyes open the whole time, and I'm talking to people, telling them what's going on while I'm there, feeling it and getting names and everything. It was very unusual. So, and I've had that happen, other times too in different ways. So, but I wish I knew more about it. If anybody else knows more about that from the Bible, let me know. I would love to. I would love to talk about that more. Uh, and some of it I will share later on as I can. So, all right, this is really cool, man. You guys make it fun. Y'all make it a lot of fun. Uh, yeah, this is really really cool. All right, and that song I think is a Holy Spirit breathed song. Myself personally, I think it's gonna be. I think it's an end time song. I think it's something we're going to hear a lot about in different ways about angel flights, not having to take an airplane because you're going there by an angel. Angels carrying you there. Because I don't think the angels just carry you to heaven. I think they'll carry you wherever you need to go. And like I did Lazarus, that's so beautiful. But sorry, I don't have any clue about the flat Earth and the firmament. I don't even know what you're talking about in that. And I know the Earth is not flat; it's round, right? Got a lot of pictures on that and the firmament. I really don't know. I can't answer that one. Sorry about that. Okay, y'all. Anything else? Anybody got anything else you want to say or whatever? All right. Hopefully you. All right. Tomorrow's Wednesday night, so if you call in tomorrow, we prophesy over everybody on Wednesday. Every Wednesday, you do it every Wednesday, no matter what. We don't do much talking. Try not to. Every once in a while, something will slip in, but we got to go with the flow. But very seldom ever do we do a bunch of talk. I give a little bit of teaching. I do a 30-minute thing, and then we prophesy for however long people show up. 2, 3. I think we were on like 5 hours one night. Literally prophesied for about 4 of those hours. A lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. All right. Okay. I guess that's it. Give a minute to somebody else to ask the question, or maybe you ask about a song, a song you'd like to hear. We'd be glad to play a song for you. Okay. All right. It's 10:13. Yes, it is. And Nikki says time travel is like doing greater than what Jesus did. I guess Jesus never time traveled. I don't know. I'm not familiar with. I never really thought about that much. I, honestly, I was just reading about the angels carrying Lazarus to heaven. I thought that was just beautiful. I just really like, wow. I knew that, but I never really got it like I got it a few days ago, a week ago or so. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Nobody else is contacting me that I can see. So you can also text me. Okay. Anya says, why people talking about flat Earth? Because it says that there are four corners of the earth. I believe there are four angels in every corner standing. God knows where the corners are. Okay, yeah, there you go. I don't know. I don't even know what she means by that, flat Earth. She's not saying she believes in flat Earth, or if flat Earth means the Earth is flat, which we know it's not, then you know she's not saying. So I don't know what she's talking about. Uh, okay. All right, y'all. Thank you, Anya, for you did a good job on talking about that. We love you, and Nikki says we love you and the ministry and the Lord has given to you. Yeah, Jesus said that we would be doing greater things than He did. Okay, with time travel. Okay, awesome. As long as it's in the Bible, man, that's all I care about. I know I've talked to people that have had those experiences, so I don't think they were lying. I know my spiritual mom was not lying, and she literally. It sounds like her body literally went there. That's what I'm guessing. I can't remember if she said her body went or not. She just told me specifically that when she knew she was there because not only did she tell her husband what his girlfriend looked like. Y'all believe this? She talks to her husband later on, who she saw in bed with another woman, and said, "I." And she said, "Randy, I told him what she looked like, and he flipped out. Like, how did you know that?" So she literally went there. It was really mind-boggling. She said her when she got back, her feet were red hot from being burned in the sand. So does that mean her physical body went there? Literally? Like, did the angels carry her there or not? I don't know, but it sounds like that. But she did. I don't remember her ever saying. So maybe she didn't know. Like Carmen said, the scripture, Paul said, we, he's caught up. He didn't know it's in the body or out of the body. Yeah, yeah. Nicole goes, wow, yeah. Anya says, good night. Uh, yeah, uh, that was amazing because she told me all about it. She said I called him up and I asked him about it, and he of course lied, right? Oh no, of course not. I would never do that. So lying like a dog. And so she said, well, and she told him that she explained her face exactly, and he just freaked out. Her hair, everything, the color, the details, everything. It's mind-boggling. So I wish I knew whether she literally physically knew she went there in her body or out of the body. I don't know. But somehow her body, when she got back or when she woke up, her feet were hot. That's she said. The reason I knew that I went there literally, maybe that's what she was trying to say, is that because her feet were hot, red. Yeah. So maybe that was showing that she physically got transported there. Yeah. So that's a personal from somebody I know, not a liar or lie. My spiritual mom was, she was a very spiritual person. Yeah. So that that was a rude awakening there. She must have been really praying to God whether her husband was being faithful or not. I guess uh, because she saw it with her own eyes and traveled there in the spirit or physically somehow. All right, y'all. This has been really great tonight. Nicole says, "Wow about that." I know it really is a wow. I thought it was a wow when she told me about it, and she was very, sober minded when she told me. She was not exactly, like something she wanted to be telling everybody about. It was amazing, literally amazing. Okay, good night, everybody. I guess that's it for me. Been wonderful. Maybe we'll start doing some time traveling or some traveling more. Yeah, hopefully. Be cool. I know I'm going to. I just don't know, and the particular way. I don't know exactly until it happens, and I'll tell you about it if he lets me. Okay, it's been great, guys. Thanks for sharing with me tonight. It's been wonderful. We can do this every night if you guys want to do. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesdays we don't talk much, but or Thursday. So Monday, Tuesdays is the only time we have to do this really. So let's try to enjoy that if we can. I would love it. So all right, good night, everyone. Bye bye.